Hey everybody, it's Patrick here from Momentum Realty Partners. Today we're at the beautiful 2526 Longtail Beach Lane in Swamico, and I have a really special treat for you. The gentleman that general contracted this entire build is here to chat with us about this gorgeous home. Let me introduce to you Marty Brice. Marty, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out, and really excited for this conversation and just to get your insight on this home since you have such intimate knowledge about it.
This is good. It's nice to be invited back.
Oh, of course. It always is, right?
Nice to see, especially 20 years later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of what I wanted to kind of chat with you a little bit about today. So you've been in, luxury home building for quite a long time. And could you just maybe give me a quick history on how you got involved in luxury building in the area?
Well, we were raised in a Mason family. My dad was a Mason contractor. My brother took over the masonry company. And I went ahead and got in with the carpenters when I was with high school.
Yeah.
So I worked for the carpenters for a while, and then I got married at 22. And by 24, I started up my own business, which was building decks and changing windows.
Sure.
And then we got asked to build a home, and we started to graduate from there. The level of homes were all 1,400 square foot, 1,600 square foot homes, just the small basic stuff, but we kept graduating. And then in 1994, a builder friend that my dad and brother worked with, Ron Adrianson, was asked to build the Miller Mansion in Door County, which is a 35,000 square foot home. His guys were older, so he come to the young guys, which was us, and we left town and went up to Sister Bay, Wisconsin, and built the Miller Mansion, as we call it. So when we got done building that, then when we came back home, the entrepreneurs from the Green Bay area had our names and had us all in sight. And then we learned our business well from working with business people.
Yeah.
And then the designers that they hired, the architects that they hired, they brought our promotion spot up higher because of their level of knowing. And we were the young guys coming through, and we were the right people. So we were getting the work done clean and neat and understood what they asked for.
Yeah.
And so they kind of graduated us along the way. So not one specific day, but a whole bunch of days.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of good work done for a lot of people over the years that led you into that path.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yes. You can tell whenever you're looked at the right way, when the folks drive up in their nice car, that everything is custom fit and beautiful, and you know that they want this in housing.
Yeah.
So then you kind of get the mindset that your job's the carpenter builder, and you're the one who has to make harmony of everybody working together and get things in the right spot. So it takes a lot of communication between homeowner and builder.
Yep.
And then builder to subs and everybody who works on the site to make it a happy workplace.
Absolutely.
And then you get great
results from that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome, Marty. One of the things that I thought was fascinating about you when we were having our conversations over the years here was you never really sold any of your services or your home via photography or videos or anything like that. You truly built everything on just pure reputation and people knowing that you were the guy. Can you offer a little insight on that and why you maybe did business that way?
Well, we kind of got away with a little bit after building the Miller Mansion. It was the largest home in the state of Wisconsin. It was a big to-do, and it came off like a hit. There was no corks, no bad talk about the builder, stuff of that.
Yeah.
So we kind of got an advantage to get in with those folks.
Okay.
And go from there. The one thing I learned is that whenever you got a phone call, and if you took a little folder book of some work that you did and showed the pictures, well, sometimes the people that you just met aren't really looking to spend that much money or to do anything of that strong characteristic or have that. So I learned young on to keep the photos out of the game.
Sure.
And because it only helped, and it let the customer be the customer they are.
Yeah.
Instead of them feeling like they're more or less than your last build.
Yeah.
So it was just a thing I picked up on and just something I made for sure I didn't do. So I don't have photos of my homes.
But I thought that was just such great insight from you. Because, there is something that can tend to happen, maybe some of that keeping up with the Joneses and other mentality things that people might have where realistically you're just there for that client and to build their dream. Doesn't really matter what anybody else built before.
Exactly. And for the longest time, we had 2 and 3 year waiting list. We wouldn't put any numbers out. I would invite the people that were on the list to come to the home we just finished.
Yep.
And say, this is how much this home costs. If you see the product inside of it and this is what you want to get, it gives you a general cost of where you are. You don't know what you want, and I can't give you a price because you don't know what you want. No,
exactly.
We just time and materialed and really became relaxed and worked with the owners for whatever they wanted. And, you know, a home doesn't get built in a day. A lot of our homes were a year to a year and a half.
Yeah.
So these folks had times to adjust and so on and go from there. We would, if the home was under 5,000 feet, we would build 2 a year.
Okay.
But, you know, we got into the 10, 15,000 square foot homes, and they were taking that year a little better, year and a half to build. So.
Absolutely. And with your process too, when you guys were building these homes, since they were such a custom endeavor, you would actually basically move to that spot for that time frame. Is that accurate? Where, you know,
when we built in Door County, I actually ran up there. I was really young. I was my young 30s.
Sure.
And I built a home for me and my guys to live in, so we didn't have to live in hotels for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that worked out real good. When we got done, it turned out good because the missus who I built the home for, the large Miller mansion, she had 5 employees, and the cook ran the employees, so she bought my house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how good we got along at the end, you know, where she bought the house and then the cook moved in there. And then that way the cook couldn't leave at any given point. She kind of had a grip on it.
Yeah.
So
that's a fascinating story. I love to see the intricacies of how all those paths cross when everybody comes together in the end. Like
the stepping stones.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is me just shooting from the hip here, not holding you to anything. But this house it's an extra special house, right? All the materials, all the things that you've seen used here, the selection process took a long time with everything in this house. If you had to guess, what do you think somebody would have to spend to build a house like this these days?
A home of this magnitude, I would say you're anywhere from $6 million would be on the shy side to $9 million, $10 million.
Yeah.
It all depends where we fit in. And remember, all the players have changed. So I don't have the guys who did the logs. I don't have the guys. My masons are now my nephews.
Yep.
And they're not my brother's crew, you know. So everything changes that way. And of course, the dollars are double from where we worked when we built this home.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
that's kind of where it sits.
Yeah. And I just look at that from a standpoint of, you know, for instance, with this home being available, nobody could build this right now for what they could buy it for. And that's what I find so interesting, right? It's everything that you guys put into this house is just top-notch materials, top-notch craftsmanship. And if somebody wanted this house, you know, 3 or 4 houses down on the another lot there, they'd be paying $6 million, $9 million, something like that for that similar product.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fascinating just to see the way that pricing and everything has changed. But then also where the value is for a house like this and where somebody could get that, you know, at a pricing, you know, that's reasonable.
If you take a look at this is a 20-year home.
Yeah.
So it's 20 years old. Well, when we were building, before we had the trusses made, they made a decision to go to the Vermont slate.
Okay.
So there we had to beef up the truss build to take more weight per pounds per square.
Yep.
And that is a 70-year roof. And they say that you can use the slate after 70 years. I'm pretty sure I won't be around, but that you can reuse the slate. You just put the new felts underneath it and then reuse it again. The log was bought. It was a cedar log on the exterior, and it was all stained all sides before it was installed. It was screwed to the wall and then an ollie screw, a 14-inch screw to go through the 9-inch log to marry this up and bond it almost like it's a mason wall.
Yeah.
And then it has, you know, now I believe they just stained recently, so it has a strong 3 coats of stain on it. You're going to get a lot of years before you have to stain. You could get 10 years, even longer, before you have to stain this again.
Yeah.
So the masonry exterior, it's a split fieldstone. That was, you know, that's something that just never goes bad. The house can burn down, the stone will stay standing. So you have an exterior on a home that is almost, to your advantage from when you built it, because you have somebody else paid for all the staining coats, and the longevity of it's good.
Yeah. You might have to call it Fort Swamico or something like that. This is just built in such a fantastic way that it's hard for me to express it in words. And this is why I wanted to have a conversation with you here, because unless somebody comes to this house and kind of feels it, touches it, sees it, right? It's hard to always really express the amount of work and craftsmanship and the perfection of it that went into this home. There's a few other features in this house too that we've had some conversations about in the past. I just wanted to kind of highlight a little bit. For instance, there's some cool intricacies with like the rec room bar upstairs. I know that you guys created like kind of the perfect height for the bar and a step down. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It wasn't so much my design. Wilco Cabinets, Green Bay company, they're the ones who did all the cabinetry here, and they're just a high-end quality outfit.
Yeah.
But it was more the owners at the time. They knew they wanted their back bar at 28 inches because the height of a glass makes it to where you're 36 inches, your counter height when it's sitting there, and they had specifics. And the step down was a way of whoever's back there, because it's a home bar, that it's more warm as the neighbors, friends, whoever are visiting are sitting around and the conversation's happening with a nice overlook of the bay.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
Yeah.
Now, there's another feature that really caught my eye. Basically you have a master wing here, right? It's a 2-story master wing. And I know you were touching on the architecture piece of it a little bit before with, your stone wall. Another thing you had mentioned was the 3-finger joints for the masonry. That master is out of this world.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in a medieval castle or something along those lines. Could you tell me a little bit about the detail that you guys took crafting that master bedroom?
Well, you take a room and it's framed. Now you have to plan out the ideas. The architect may have had some stone drawn on, but may not be exactly what the owners wanted. It was the architect's idea. So the owners here were ones that could break that apart and then chase it for how they wanted to see it. So in the long run, you could walk into that bedroom and it'd be empty, not a thing in it, and it's gorgeous. Now, when you get a room that's gorgeous and it's empty, you know that it's architecturally built with character.
Yeah.
And then those characters all come forward. Now you add the furniture, you've only given it that much better display.
Yeah.
So you'd have to see it to feel that. And I think these words will come true when you see it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, with the choices that they made here for furniture and everything, it truly is what you just said, right? That room is beautiful by itself when it's empty, but everything that they chose here has truly enhanced it even further, which is cool.
Correct.
And then when we go upstairs, the other thing that's neat about the breakdown for that master wing section is there's actually steps that lead up to a full bathroom and 2 more closets. And part of the design process for that was almost the Mrs. getting ready space, like a specialty space just for her. Could you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Well, on the thought process of this, Mrs. Had the time where if she had a busy day, then she would stay down and shower in the lower bathroom, get ready, and get out the door. If she had day to herself, then she could go up and there had the slipper tub, and that was kind of her space. Her closet was upstairs, and so then she kind of knew what she could do and what she could, have a place to go hang out and get herself comfortable before she went out to the public.
Yeah. There's just a true elegance to the way that bathroom was built. Everything about it is just eye-catching, and everything down to the details of the tub, the faucets, everything in that room. And plus the little, the secret jewelry keep in there is kind of cool too.
Yeah, you put a rug over it, nobody knows it's there. The hardware doesn't bump up.
Yeah.
So
with the bar upstairs, Marty, one of the things I was going to ask you about too is there seems to be a real rustic charm to all the materials there. And I've seen in the past, some people have shown on like the do-it-yourself type thing, hey, hit this with a chain or hit it with a torch and it'll make it look really cool. Can you tell me a little bit about the process, you guys?
So a board's a board until you fit the board, accent the board, shape the board, color the board, and then it all comes together. So Wilco Cabinets actually built the bar And at the time, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was a carver, and he was very talented and could carve anything. And he went ahead and took those flat boards from the cabinet doors to the rails to the bar top to the bar rail, and he hand chiseled in the accents everywhere. So that entire bar is an alder bar, and it has all these accents that are carved into it, and then they put a stain, and then they work with like a burnt umber to rub over the top to give it that old smoke flavor look to wood. So that's kind of where the characters of that came together.
Wow. And speaking of character too, the very, very tall ceilings, I mean, these are 32-foot ceiling in here. Before you had the roof on, you guys were actually dropping these gorgeous beams in here and setting them. Could you kind of highlight that a little bit?
So the vision, the house being framed, we had the trusses set, the plywood on, and then now you have to get these beams inside. Well, you walk them through the front door, and you got all your guys on carrying one leg of the beam. And we built carts that we actually constructed and made these beams to fit the ceiling right here in this room. Wow. So it was basically our workshop, and we carved them up mostly with a skill saw, and just kept carving them to fit.
Okay.
And then once we had them fit, then we had the crane sitting out on the front driveway, and we would drop the cable down through the peak of the roof and then hook onto this by straps and lift that up into place.
Wow.
And then mount it and put it into place, and had backing on it that once the beam was set in place, that we could fit the wood ceiling right to the beam, and everybody looks like they're professionals.
Yeah.
So a nice way to fit it. It was fun doing.
Yeah. Well, there's no way you're fitting those beams in the elevator, right?
No elevator at the time.
I love the feature of the elevator that we have in here. And you mentioned to me that that's a hydraulic style elevator. And with that, there was a couple advantages that come with it. Did you want to just highlight those for us too?
Well, the electric ones, the motors are put on the top floor up above the elevator, and they run very slow, and they're loud. When you lift up from the bottom or you let the car go down to the back to the first floor, that electric motor runs the same if it's lifting or dropping, and it's noisy and slow. The hydraulic ones go ahead, they have the motor in the basement, and you don't hear it run, and it lifts up the car, and whenever you want to go down, just the hydraulic releases itself and drops itself down. So you have a much more pleasant running home type elevator.
Yeah.
And it's only a few dollars more.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And it's every time that you talk about one of these features, it makes me think of another cool feature that you guys packed into this house. And one of them that just came to mind was the chandelier that's on a winch that can actually come down to change the light bulbs. So that way you can change light bulbs, dust, and do everything safely without being 32 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
I love how you guys incorporated this into like the cabinetry of the bar, where it's not just sticking out like here's a key in the wall and you do this. It's like you did some really nice, subtle things to create those cool features in the home, but to also make it so it's not like it's just a obnoxious thing that's sitting on a wall.
So when you put a winch in the attic, the thing is for the light to drop down, it's for safety, number one.
Yep.
There's a key that you have to turn. Well, who wants to look at the key, that outlet? It's not a nice thing to look at, but yet you have to see the light fixture all the while you're operating that key. That's the rule. So the winch works out well for cleaning the fixture, for changing light bulbs, but it's also, if you think of the folks that have a home and have a winch to their light fixture, their belongings that are around the home in the area, if somebody went up on a ladder and fell, they could get hurt, plus the belongings get broken, and some of these belongings are priceless. So there's so many more reasons than just the cool winch that goes in the attic.
Yeah.
There's a safety factor, and then there's a protection of product.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
And again, I thank you for giving us that in-depth insight on it, where a lot of people will see that, oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
There's a reason for so much of the intricacies that you've built into this beautiful home.
Right. Right. It's a beautiful home, and it's one that's going to stand a lot longer than this interview.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think this place will be here long after we're all gone.
Right. Right.
So, Marty, one of the most beautiful features of this home that I always like to comment on is the flooring. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I believe it's a white pine.
Yeah, it's an old growth white pine. That's how you get the wide planking.
Okay, gotcha. And with that, I think it's kind of fun because I think there are those. It's like an old. Is that like a poured style nail, like a railroad nail or something like that?
Yeah, it's a square head nail.
Okay.
And it was used back in the day when they would build we'll call it an old cabin, but it was their house. They used to put the joisting 32 inches on center. So now today we go 2 feet on center, or we're mostly traditional 16 on center today. So to get the old world, old class look of the pine floor, we went ahead and used the old railroad spikes or the square head nail to put in as accent only. The floors are nailed and glued all underneath, and we put them 32 inches apart to go ahead and give that look of the old floor because it's an old growth pine.
Yeah.
Tried to get with a log cabin and tried to get that old world feel.
Awesome.
And then the finish on it, it's not a stain and sealer, and it's basically 2 coats of tung oil. And the tung oil, it makes it a little slippery, but it's nice. You learn to walk on it.
Yeah.
But if you have a problem, you can handle it with your own tung oil, and you can fix the scratch or the fix.
Sure.
So, and that'll blemish away and get into the tone after a while. Or you can go ahead and tung oil the whole floor, but
Yeah.
it's an easy product. It's just an oil, so there's no stained color to it, nothing.
Wow. And they just look gorgeous. So again, I love how you're walking us through each and every one of these things because it really just highlights what makes this house special.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're about 99% retired,
Yeah.
but I think you mentioned to me that you have some folks that are kind of carrying the torch for you in the building world. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
So I have 3 sons. My son, Max, is Max Brice Construction. He's in his young 30s, and Max is making his way up to his builds. His last build I was impressed walking around and very proud to be his dad.
Yeah.
And I have a nephew, Andy Schlegg, that worked with us for a long time, and he's also in the building, and he's been in the trades with us, and he also is looking for a nice career going forward, and he's just getting started with us stepping back. Max has been doing it for a while. And my son, Andy, is Brice Electric, so we have an electrician on the side of this and not all carpenters. So we have a sub, and Andy pretty much hangs out with his brother and his cousin for working on their houses and stuff. So, yeah, this is good. And then I get to go in, get a little sawdust on me and walk past and then get back in the truck and head out.
There you go.
So the boys do what they do.
Get the little taste of it that you need, right?
Yeah. And they're doing really good, and it's fun to get to spend time with them.
That's awesome, Marty. Well, you've certainly built yourself quite a legacy here as a luxury home builder. And, I just think it's really special, too, that your kids are carrying the torch, and moving forward, not only, knowing the trades, but being able to carry on the style of building and everything that you've been able to, really bring to the area and just do such amazing work. So thank you again so much for highlighting this beautiful home with us. And everybody, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to give me a call. It's Patrick at Momentum Realty Partners, MomentumRealtyPartners.com. And with Marty, is there anywhere that we could reach you guys, reach your son, reach your nephew to talk about building and everything like that?
Pretty much in the Bellevue area. And Max Brice from Max Brice Construction and Andy Schlegg from Andy Schlegg Construction. They're right in the Ledgeview, Green Bay area, and they can help you with all their needs, or if not, go from there.
Well, fantastic. Marty, thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we explored 2526 Longtail Beach Lane in Suamico, Wisconsin. What an amazing conversation with Marty Brice, the general contractor who built this house and many other amazing luxury homes throughout the area in Wisconsin. If you have any questions about this house, or if you're interested in buying it yourself, Just know this, Marty is a resource for you. He stands behind every home that he built, and he is more than happy to offer any suggestions or advice to the person who would end up purchasing this home. So if you need maintenance or repairs or anything like that, Marty is your guy. He is more than happy to help and get you those suggestions. All right, everybody. Again, thank you for tagging along with us. This is Patrick from Momentum Realty Partners, MomentumRealtyPartners.com. As always, if you need any help with real estate, if you have questions about the market, me and my team are here to help you, so do not hesitate to reach out. We'll see you later, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.